Welcome back to the
Yeah,
Authenticity
yay.
Calling podcast. I'm your host, Ralitza Spassova, and today we have a very special guest, Katia Vassi. She is my spirit sister, my soul twin. We did a lot of coaching together through the Institute for Coaching Mastery, which is where we met. She is also Bulgarian. We actually saw each other in person. We had our sons playing together in Bulgaria. So it was literally feels like coming back home to myself when I'm with you. And that's the way it's always felt, whether in person or virtually. Katia, I love you so much. I love what you're doing in the world. And I would just love for you to share a little bit about your passion and what brought you here.
It's mutual. The love is mutual. And this very interesting relationship that we developed from like the get-go has been so fascinating. All the little signs that we both started as authenticity coaches because it's one of our core values, authenticity. And the way we connected and even the infinity sign that is like so present in both our lives and brands because we want to live as our limitless selves, right?
That's right.
So this infinity means unlimited, fearless, unapologetic. Well, at least for me, you know.
Absolutely. I love it. I love that. So the infant, just to give a little bit of a background, when we saw each other in the coaching space and the online space, I think we were paired in a breakout room. And I had my infinity necklace, which I was having. She said, I have a ring like that. And I was like, I have a ring like that. So yeah, it was
And
a
then you gifted me a necklace with the infinity sign
that's
that I
right.
wear, and I always think of you when I'm wearing it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think for me, infinity, that it really shows the divine harmony, that divine union within, whether that's, within and outside of ourselves. So creating that divine union to be exactly who we are internally and then shine that light externally. It's also the doing and the being. We talk about the masculine and the feminine energy. So it really requires that flow, and we're meant to flow between one and the other. Um, how much time and energy we put towards ourselves, but also how much do we pour into others. So it means so many things in my space, and it's harmony in action. If I think about it, if we're going to be in harmony, what does that look like? And it's that yes and mentality. So it just bridges everything for me. The spirit and the
Yes,
humanity, right? Like just
yes, it does.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you use the word harmony because many people use the word balance.
Hmm.
And I think balance is not a constant. Balance is not something you can define,
That's right.
you know?
It,
Harmony to me is more like music. It's the
hmm.
flow of harmony. It's
Mm.
really, as you said, doobie doobie doo, doing and being, having the masculine structure, but also letting the flow, the creative part of us do its thing, do its magic, because it is magical. But let's just go back a
Absolutely.
little bit. I want to thank you for
Please.
inviting me to have this magical moment on your podcast. That have been, we've been anticipating that for a long time, and I feel like sometimes you want it to be the right time, and then you wonder if it's the right time. But if you just put aside micromanaging
Yes.
and perfectionism,
All both
and
topics we could talk till we're blue in the face about. Yeah.
yeah, and you just center yourself and just connect with the person and feel the vibe and just run it through your body because
Mhm.
I believe that that is the truth. This is where our wisdom lies, our intuition lives in our bodies.
Mhm.
And the moment I run it through my body, I know if it's a hell yes, well, let's say a heaven yes,
Yes.
or it's like, meh, not right now, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. I love that. So
So,
I just want to highlight for our listeners what you're speaking on is really that embodied decision making. And you are an embodiment coach. You are an embodiment mentor. And I have to say my experience working with you through this process of really embodying my wholeness, walking in my path of authenticity, and really in my greatness, because we don't talk about this a lot as women, walking in our greatness, right? We kind of hide in the shadows from our greatness, and we kind of like we'll take a step out and then we'll kind of hide back in the box. And so I really want to highlight and celebrate myself in the space that you held. And this is not something that I would normally do because it was so powerful. And I just want to highlight how important it is to do embodiment work. And I remember it like it was yesterday, and this was maybe 2 years ago, but you held space for me, and it was literally right here where I'm standing right now. I closed my eyes, and the way that you described the future version of me, and it was really eliciting from me to be able to visualize myself in that wholeness, actually don't look different than I'm looking right now, which is really funny. Which is fascinating to me. But when I closed my eyes and I saw that future version of myself, and you guided me to step into her, there was an entire energetic shift in my thinking after our session, in my physical body. I could feel the energy moving. I call it a paradigm shift. Yeah. It was beyond the truth chills. I call them truth chills when you get kind of paresthesias and tingly all over.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
It was well beyond that. It was like I was literally stepping into a different timeline, a different version of myself that actually, we talk about like gave no fucks. No, it was well beyond that. It was like she is so grounded in her knowing of what she's here to do and how she's here to do it, that nothing can stand in the way there, and especially not herself. I think that is something that I wish everyone could experience, because it is a massive shift compared to the playing small that I was doing before. And I have moments, and it's an everyday kind of awakening and invitation to actually surrender into that. So I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to that experience and what is the magic behind what you do, because it was truly magical, like out of this world.
Oh, this means so much to me because sometimes we discover ourselves through those sessions with others within the space that we both create, because we co-create. Yes, I am holding space for you, but it is a co-creation because you're being invited and you have the right to say yes or no. And the moment you decide that, it's so clear, it is a yes, I'm ready, ready for this shift, I'm ready for this moment.
Yeah.
And you surrender.
Yeah.
I'm just here to guide you, because there are so many labels. Like I went through so many labels that now I feel like, do I really even need a label, because we use Instagram and Facebook and all platforms to describe ourselves in the bio, and I'm this and I'm that and I do this and I do that.
That's right.
And it's branding, it's marketing, it's everything. I went through being an authenticity coach, which transformed into a transformational coach, which transformed into feminine embodiment mentor and coach. But what I facilitate is really an awakening and an activation on a cellular level. Because I am here as a vessel and as a mirror.
Yes.
To really show you your power, to awaken you, to see your power, and to claim it, to decide. Because the moment you decide, you have the clarity, you're in your center, the moment you decide, heaven, yes, this is who I am. Yeah. And you unapologetically and willingly step into your power, step into the shoes of this limitless being that we all call our higher self, highest self, whatever we want to call it. It's all labels, but it's all about what it feels like. And it's a very visceral feeling.
Yes.
It's an embodied sensation.
Yes.
So what I really do, I can only describe in 2 words: embodied repatterning. Because what I facilitate is a repatterning of the subconscious and the nervous system. And the moment, the shift that you just talked about, what shifts, it's not, we can describe it as, yeah, it's a quantum shift, it's a timeline shift, it's a shift into a different identity. It's whatever Dr. Joe Dispenza describes as crossing the river and waking up as someone else, becoming someone else, someone closer to who you really are. Because you embody your truth. You are ready to drop the masks, be fearless, be exactly who you are without a care in the world what they think, friends, family, strangers, like people on the internet.
Yes.
The moment you know who you are and you become this embodied rock. Rock because you're in your center and you cannot be swayed because you finally know who you are. But not rock because you're hard.
Yeah, grounded is what I feel. When you say rock, it's like you're so grounded that you're unshakable.
Unshakable because you know who you are.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you are flexible, you are malleable on your terms because you embody this feminine energy, this co-creative energy, and you know how to live with pleasure, move with pleasure.
Let's talk about pleasure.
And
yeah,
feel the yumminess of just being so free, so liberated of not only labels as we mentioned, but also all the conditioning, all the expectations of others, all of the others' projections onto you. When you remember feeling in your previous version, feeling guilty about this and small about that, and I want to hide because of this, and I kind of want to people please because of that.
That's a very common. So focusing outside of ourselves, making someone else a priority, that is so, so common. Yeah.
And just why don't I just stay in the shadows? For example, in human design, I'm a projector. I have a very penetrating energy. And
yeah. Sorry, human design.
Try again.
Go on. No, go on.
All good.
Yeah, go on.
All right. So yeah, the moment, let me just grab the vibe back. I got distracted, my ADHD. So the moment you feel that, okay, I could choose to continue people pleasing. I could choose to be comfortable for others, or I could choose to be my authentic self. And yes, maybe I do evoke discomfort because of what I'm embodying, but this is who I am. I'm just casting light on shadows. And sometimes people do not want to be faced with their shadows. They're not ready. And it feels uncomfortable. It's like I'm walking with a flashlight. This is what it feels like sometimes. And I've heard it so many times, like your energy is invasive somehow, or you're being too much.
Let's talk about
You're
that.
too intense.
Let's talk about that. So that is actually, I mean, when I hear that, what I hear is somebody who's trying to hide from themselves.
Yeah. And
because we've been called to see the truth in people. And that's really how, like, my magic, your magic. I think obviously as authenticity coaches, we have a very similar timeline and calling to be here to reflect the truth to people. And so when they feel invaded on because they're being held in their truth, I'm like,
oh yeah,
you can't hide.
oh yeah. It's
And
like
it's not
they're
a
in
bad
the
thing. It's such a
fire.
beautiful thing. Yeah.
It really is. Can you stand the fire to purify you of the debris, to purify you of all the layers that you've adopted throughout the years? And are you ready to be purified in this fire? Are you ready to stand in the fire? It really is if the person is ready. And it took me years to get it. And I had this pattern where friends would suddenly ghost me somehow, they would just break up the friendship, break up with me. And there was no fight, there was no obvious reason, but because it happened so many times and I started like looking at this pattern from a different angle, I realized, wait, it's not because of something I said or something I did. It's because of what I'm embodying. Because what I'm embodying is showing them how to honor your truth. And
Yeah.
right now, they're choosing something else because it's the comfort zone, because it's familiar, because they're not ready to be independent, to choose themselves, to be fearless and take a leap, take a chance, to wonder what if. It's just not their time. And I cannot blame them. I cannot have resentment,
Hmm.
feel resentment towards them
Hmm.
because they just weren't ready.
Hmm.
And it's not easy to be in a friendship, in a relationship with a person who holds the mirror.
Hmm.
And maybe this is the reason why I have like a really small circle of friends, close
Hmm.
friends. And I finally made peace with that. The moment I claimed myself and who I really am, and I decided that whoever is ready, they can stay. I'm here. I'll hold the space. The fire is here. It's your choice. Sometimes they bring water to the fire, It just depends on the person.
Yeah.
But mm, I focus on quality, not quantity. Quality of relationships. Quantity.
Mm. So what you were just speaking on to me, that kind of, if I try to let it land in my body, and if I really, what comes through is really a frequency. It's that frequency of the truth. It's that stillness. And you mentioned ADHD, so I have to bring it back to that. But I think so many of us, and I hear this all the time. I work in healthcare transformation, and we did some work around mental health and substance use. And we were really focused on mental health. We were focused on anxiety. But there's a
Mhm.
lot of crossover into ADHD. And some of the physicians said that, every other patient I see has ADHD. Like, we need to put Vyvanse in the water supply. That's a big problem, right? And so I think I just want to speak to this because it's come up a few times this week, and I think it really just wants to be grounded.
Okay, sure.
People with ADHD, yes, there are a subset who do better when they're medicated. But I just want to
Mhm.
bring back ADHD for a little bit of a multidimensional understanding. And right now I'm grounding, it's a co-authored piece. I don't know if it's going to be a book or a platform or all of it, but it's
Okay.
called The Mystic and the Medicine. And we're really talking about, outside of the clinical diagnosis, outside of the DSM-5 and what we're taught in medical school, and symptoms and so on. There's a
Mhm.
much bigger part of us as humans that we're meant to be here in a multidimensional way. And people that we came with adaptations to be able to actually receive so much more than just the physical 3D plane of, like, what do you see? What do you hear? The five senses that we're classically taught about. We actually have like 30 senses that we don't talk about. So people with ADHD, they're hyper stimulated because they're bringing in all this information, all this sensory input from all these different places, which are unseen and unheard. It's an energy, it's a frequency, and you're picking them all up. And we live in a very inundated world. There's a lot
Mhm.
going on. constantly. Not to mention that we're living in multiple timelines at the same time, which is another fascinating thing. To collapse those timelines is so important. And that's part of the embodiment work. And that's part of the authenticity work. And that's part of, no longer living on the lie of people pleasing for this person and that person and this job and that career and this schooling and that. Once you bring it all together and you come into your center and you realize, what are you here for and how are you meant to show up? What brings you alive? What makes you feel passionate and inspired? That's when it all kind of just collapses, and it's all brought together, and all those loose strings, they're now speaking the same story. You're living that one timeline, which has collapsed all these different variables, and it starts to make sense. And when the information comes, it's almost like different languages are being translated and they're speaking to each other, and it becomes a feeling, a knowing, a deep inner knowing. So I had to say that. So I don't know if you want to share anything about your experience in that, but I think, as I've been in these different like Facebook groups and just different places, I try not to share too much from the medical perspective, because I do have an MD, but I'm not licensed to practice. And there's a reason I'm not licensed. I don't want to prescribe medications for things that are outside of the capacity of medications to be able to actually support. And so for me, my ADHD calmed way down when, through this 5-year process of doing this embodiment, of honoring the traumas and the experiences that I've had growing up, honoring past lives and past traumas, there's different methodologies to do it. And so somatic work, timeline therapy, there's different methodologies that I incorporate into my coaching. But I think it's really important to recognize that we are multidimensional and there's so much more to the story. So I'm just going to say that
Totally.
and hand it to you before I put my foot in my mouth.
I see ADHD as a superpower. And we don't really see it when we're younger, when we're kids. My son also has ADHD. And right now he's really struggling, and he still cannot see it as a superpower. And it's because of the school system for sure. And I see how hyperstimulated he becomes because they're like 25 kids in one room from 8 a.m. to almost 2 p.m., and he would actually choose to go to one of the teachers after hours for a private session. And he's like, Mom, I finally got it because there was no noise.
Yes.
Because it was me and the teacher. Yes. I finally got it. And yes, at the beginning, it feels like a struggle. But once you realize it's a superpower, you kind of learn to manage it and to employ it to work for you.
That's right.
Because I am such a multitasker. You won't believe it.
Oh, I believe it.
I know it's also a mom thing.
Yeah.
I have 2 kids for people who don't know me. Here's one of them. Peking. Hi. And to me, being able to okay, to be able to multitask is such a great thing, because I realize how powerful I am. And sometimes it's also a sign from my nervous system that I need a moment. Like if I get distracted, it's not because I'm not interested in what I'm reading or watching or maybe just having a conversation with someone, but maybe it's just a sign, you know what? Take 2 minutes. Take a break, take a pause, take a sip of water, you know? It really is not because we get bored. But because we need to recalibrate. And I also see it as a superpower because the moment I start doing, let's say, 2 things at the same time, I realize my capacity, and I tell myself, well, this shows me that if there are hardships at some time in the future, I'll be able to handle it. But
Mhm.
right now, can I choose to just be present?
Mhm.
So this is now a conscious choice. Can I be present for just one of those things?
Mhm.
Like I realize my capacity, my superpower, but can I just focus on one thing and be
Mhm.
really present?
Mhm. Yeah. And that concentrates. Like I think of it as, when you split your focus on two different things or four different things, or I mean, we're very good at multitasking, but what does that mean? A lot of people ask, is it really possible to multitask? Yes, it is. And should we actually be spreading ourselves so thin is my question. And that's the question of presence. It's like there are certain things that I'm able to multitask with, and then there are certain things that I prefer not to, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't produce as quality of an output, whether that's a conversation, whether that's an email, whether that's whatever that is. All of my energy is not focused and concentrated on that one thing. So I feel energetic because I feel and see the way energies move. It doesn't actually have as strong of an impact. So just because we can do it doesn't necessarily mean we should be doing it. And I think that's where also that collapse happens when we bring it all together and we actually choose, as you said, choice is a very important thing, to focus
Yeah.
on one thing at a time. And there's lots of different methods. Like there's the Pomodoro method where you do 20 minutes at a time, focused on one thing, and then you switch tasks. It's a little disorienting for me. I can't do those 20. Like if I have to finish something and then close the chapter and then move on to something else. So that's just one method that might work better for people with ADHD. But I think for me, it's honoring myself
Mm.
to give myself the focus and time and attention and presence to really ground what I'm doing and allow it to
Yeah.
pour out of me. And that is that filling my cup and overflowing. And I think many of us, when we're stuck in that rat race of having to do too much, because we do, I think we also take on way more than we're meant to, and we live in a hyper
Totally.
productive world. And now with AI and all these technologies, we're expected to actually deliver so much more. But if I think about the times where we used to have to go in the office, you can only take like 3 or 4 meetings in a day because there's lunch, there's bathroom breaks, there's hallway conversations. There's so many moments of those human connections that we actually, and connections to ourselves, going to the bathroom, not in between meetings that are back to back, but literally you take 10 minutes to walk to the bathroom and walk back to your desk. And nobody expects you not to use the restroom all day. But in an online environment, you are expected to be at the beginning of every meeting and leaving at the end of every meeting. And unless they're consciously scheduled, starting 5 minutes into the hour or, finishing 5 or 10, 15 minutes before the end of the hour, many people actually have these unrealistic expectations of themselves that they're not going to burn out with this kind of schedule. It is totally unrealistic. And then on top
Mm-hmm.
of that, you have to read your emails, create, really functionally great products. You have to deep think. But when we're expected to now be at 10 meetings in a day, not 3 or 4, and we just don't have that time. We don't drive to and from work anymore where we get to do some of that deep thinking when you're disengaged from it, right? That unconscious
Yeah.
processing. So I just want to highlight that the phenomenon of ADHD being a thing, it's because of our societal and social conditioning on productivity and our focus on being output based, and that's extremely dangerous to the human psyche. And
And
we have
very masculine too.
yes,
Output, output, results, do.
that's right.
And it
Yeah.
becomes exhausting, especially for women,
Yeah.
because we cannot just survive on doing. And many people confuse burnout with working too much.
Mm,
It's more about not honoring yourself
that's
enough
right.
and being more in the masculine than in the feminine.
Let's talk
And
about
the
that. I talk a
burnout
lot.
is
Yeah.
your body protesting.
Yes. Yes.
It's your
Say
body
more.
protesting. It's like, I'm starving. I'm starving.
Yes.
You're making me do things, but it's like from an empty cup. As you said, we need to fill up the bucket. It's not a cup. I feel like it's a bucket.
It's a huge bucket. And where do we start? Like where,
Cup is
for
not
example,
enough.
where did you start? Where did you start to fill your cup? I mean, my methodology, it's on my website. It's on the 7-day self-care challenge, there's all the tools,
Mm-hmm.
you can do it over and over and over again until you get to a point where you do feel grounded. But I'm wondering for your journey, because it's such an important thing to reflect on our journey, and it's going to be a mirror for most of our clients, if not all. But what was your journey from that moment of realization? Because the first step is awareness, but the second step is actually, the acceptance and the aligned action. And it's kind of, I personally think it's very individual. So I'm wondering what's your journey and what
It's
really
very
helps.
intuitive.
Yeah.
It's very intuitive. Yes, it is very individual and it's very intuitive. And yes, sometimes I could look at what other people do and follow their strategy, but I believe that everybody should follow their own truth and their own intuition. And sometimes it starts naturally, unexpectedly. You start noticing things that, okay, let's start from uh, how do you know that you're filling up your bucket? That's the first step. As you said, awareness, because we all use a triangle: awareness, acceptance, aligned action. I love triangles, it's my favorite shape.
Me too.
So, what is the first step of awareness that you're something's filling up my bucket? Well, again, embodiment. If you're feeling like a battery is being recharged, if you're breathing deeper, you're feeling like I'm bigger than the room, I'm feeling this expansion, this aliveness running through me. And at the same time, I feel this rush of energy just filling me up. So it is an embodied feeling of filling up with energy. It feels like, and when you have leaks in your bucket and your bucket is being emptied here and there, this posture,
Yeah.
your posture changes, not only your face, it's body language.
Yeah.
You start to feel contracted and your breathing becomes more shallow and you kind of, dwarf and you want to hide and you just want to survive a certain thing, not to consciously go through it, but just survive through it.
Mm-hmm.
So, first step, things that you've noticed in your life that fill up your bucket, give you this aliveness and this pleasure in your body and this expansive energy.
Mm-hmm.
Just start brainstorming. Start with the things that you already know and don't even think about it. Like, start brainstorming. For example, I don't know, watering the flowers or just cutting fresh pot flowers from the garden and even smelling just the fragrance of the roses. This is a ritual that me and my daughter, who is 3, have when we're
Mm-hmm.
walking in the neighborhood or in the park. We always stop to smell the roses because they have different scents. Like the red one is different from the yellow one, from the pink one, from the orange one. And aromatherapy, very natural, it fills you up in a second,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And from then, from this point forward, um, it's about just feeling what fills up my cup. What do I remember doing, even as a child? Maybe it was drawing or just crafting, just doing something with your hands
Mm-hmm.
that made you feel so alive.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was dancing, or it could have been singing. Like, go back a little bit and remember, because childhood holds not only memories, it holds sensations in the body,
Potential.
and you can recall that.
Yeah.
And those little things, if you scatter them around throughout your day, because we said it's not a a balance, that it's a fixed thing. It's the harmony, it's the music, it's the dance. It's taking your time in the morning. I'm describing myself to drink a cup of tea, because I don't drink coffee. I don't like it. But I love herbal tea. And make it a ritual in a cup that you really, a mug that you really enjoy. When you see it, just puts a smile on your face.
Mm.
And pick a fragrance, an aroma, and a taste that you love.
Mm.
This is how you're, waking up for the day.
Mhm.
And just appreciating, but not appreciating as like I'm gonna write a list of like a gratitude
Yeah.
list. I I see it and I feel it more working better
Yeah.
when it's this Abraham Hicks technique, the rampage of appreciation.
Mm.
So you just have to start the engine, and then it just picks up speed,
Mm.
and it becomes like so natural. There's inertia, there's momentum that starts to build up.
Mm.
So I'll just give an example so that people can really experience it
Yeah.
for like 2 minutes. You can start with this. And what she suggests, Abraham, through I forget her name, I'm sorry. But start general. This is what she says. Start with something that feels neutral, because it has to be 50% believable, more or less. You cannot start with, I'm so happy today. Oh my God. Again, authenticity. What is
Yeah.
authentic? What feels true. What feels true? Well, let's start with something neutral. Maybe I'm grumpy today. So I'd rather start neutral and
Mm.
not bypass and not fake it or fool myself
That's
somehow.
right. That's right.
So start with something really general, like, yeah, I woke up today. All is well. Oh, I see the sun. It's going to be sunny today. A nice change from yesterday when it poured all day. Hey, there's a bee on the flower on the balcony. It's so nice. Let me smell the flower. Oh, wow. I love it. I wonder what can happen today. I wonder. It starts with curiosity.
Mm.
Starts with wondering. I wonder what interesting thing could happen today. We don't start with what amazing thing, what an incredible thing. Well, I'm gonna have an like incredible day.
Mm.
Interesting. It starts with just being curious. I wonder what could happen today that can completely change my point of view.
Mhm.
I wonder what could make me see the world from a different perspective. I wonder what kind of an experience I'll have that I never anticipated. I wonder who I'll meet today. And as I wonder, I start noticing that I'm just breathing deeper. And then, like, second step is just start noticing. And if you want to warm it up, it could be I'm noticing that I'm feeling a little better than 10 minutes ago.
Mm.
It's so fun to notice that I'm actually experiencing a little bit of joy. And it's so curious when I experience joy, because the more I notice it, the more it amplifies.
Mhm.
And today I feel like wearing this yellow dress. What if I wear my pearls with it and those heels? What if I just dress up for no reason today? What would that feel like?
Mm.
And then I do it. And then it's like, that's a nice vibe. It's
Mm.
different, it's fresh. I don't really have anywhere special to go, but you know what? I'm worth it. I like it. It feels good in my body.
Mm.
And it would be a nice idea to maybe put some lipstick on, or maybe a little bit of mascara. Oh, that's nice. That's actually really nice. I notice how different I feel when I do something for myself.
Mhm.
Even when I just touch my face, it just calms my nervous system down. And the more I touch it, the more I realize how I regulate the state I'm in. And I like the touch. And maybe I can take a little bit of body lotion. Smells like grapefruit. Ugh, yummy, so juicy. And it feels good to just give this moment just for me,
Mm.
just for myself. And maybe throughout the day, something happens and puts you off. Someone flips you on the road, or just whatever occurs. And then you become wobbly for a minute there. But then it's not about avoiding hardships or avoiding to become not even angry, maybe a little bit of upset. The point is not to not be upset. The point is, do you know where your center is? How quickly can you come back to your center? Because an emotion runs through your system for about 90 seconds. But if you decide to hang on to it, you're going to keep it looping and you're going to start feeding it. And it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going to become an entity.
Mhm.
But do you really want to feed it? Or do you just want to, okay, I felt that. Maybe shake it off a little bit, you know? Maybe see things from a different point of view. Maybe play a song that you really like and jump around because this is going to shake it off and
Mm.
you're going to feel a shift in like the first 30 seconds.
Mm.
Your mood is going to change right away. Why does Tony Robbins talk about that? Has been
Why does he
talking
come all
about
hyped up?
that for the past
Wah! He's
40
screaming.
years, you know?
Yeah.
It's like every 10 minutes, okay, let's now jump around and do this and hell yes, and I don't know what else.
Yeah.
It's like change of state, change of state. That's it. You decide. Nobody has the power to dictate how you feel. Whatever they do, you can always change your state. You can always change your point of view. You can always change your verbiage. This is what I was telling my client today. It's like you catch yourself and you neutralize it. It's not about going to the other extreme where you try to fool yourself. Oh, no, things are great.
Mm.
No, you neutralize it. Oh, maybe I have inherited that from my mom. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, how do we neutralize it? That's a specific example from
Mm.
this afternoon. How do we neutralize it? I have decided to borrow this from my mom. So
Mm.
where is the power now? Who holds the power now?
Yeah, it's back
So
yours.
what feels
Mm.
finite, finite? What feels infinite?
Mhm.
What feels like you have more power when you decide that I've adopted this, I have borrowed it. I hold the power.
Mhm.
It's really in the decision I take, in the change of point of view, and in showing myself, showing my brain, if you wish, why this is a lie,
Mhm.
why this pattern or limiting belief or mantra or whatever it is, why is it a lie? You can always find evidence if you look for it. You'll always find evidence. Okay, can I find evidence how this is not true?
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Thank you for walking us through that because that in and of itself, I found the energy within me as you were talking, as you were taking us through that morning routine and those really truly somatic experiences. If you do take the time to put hands on yourself, it can really shift. And it is such a powerful, and I wasn't even mimicking, I wasn't copying or mirroring, but I felt the joy come up with it. I couldn't help but
mm,
smile because it's such a natural human thing to do. And we are all craving more connection with ourselves first and foremost. And then, pouring that into others and so on. So thank you for that. And also that reflection of it's a choice, right? Externalizing our validation or externalizing our power, that is very much a choice. And it's so powerful when we take it back and say, well, yes, I may have learned that. Even it's scientific, it's neural mirroring. We pick up what our parents do, not what they say. And so naturally we can say, yes, I could blame that person, or I could just accept them as they are and recognize that I am now an adult with a choice. I can continue that pattern that I'm now aware of, or I can take responsibility to change it. And that's such a powerful moment and transformational opportunity. I'm going to call it an opportunity because not everybody takes it. But it becomes so powerful when we do choose to invest in ourselves, when we hire, for example, a coach or mentor, or, some people prefer therapists or counselors or whatever it is, but whatever it is, taking the step in the direction of where you're trying to go, not just looping back in your past. And that's why coaching has become such a multi-million billion, I don't even know where it's at anymore, but industry, is because we take the things that held us back in the past and we transform them to actually something that can empower us in the future. And then we create a life from there. And sure, there's lots of manifestation tools and there's lots of different ways that you can do it. And I mean, you could go look it up on YouTube or follow these big show-stopping people that you go to an event and then you come home and then you're 3-4 days later after the retreat, you're back to where you started, most people, right? And so I think it's really important to actually invest in a strategy and a plan that holds you through the resistance, because you are going to meet resistance along the way. And that's where most coaching programs that are really effective, they have at least a 3 to 6 month container, or they have a really strategic process to hold you through. So when you do actually want to cancel that next meeting, it's like, okay, I'll let you have that flexibility, but we're following up on this because I know this is a moment around the dipping point where you want to run away from yourself, and we're going to bring it back. And usually if you do case by case, like if you do session by session, a lot of people don't go back to it. But when you're invested in a container that you've paid for, you're going to show up. Sooner or later, when that resistance meets the road, you're going to realize, okay, I have to face this. It's my opportunity to face this. And it's the greatest gift, because on the other side of that resistance is so much growth, and it's so much beauty and life experience. And that embodiment is so juicy when we get out of that numbing ourselves, when we get out of distracting ourselves, when we get out of that momentum of staying busy. It is such a gift when we can slow down and get into our bodies and honor ourselves. So I'm just so grateful that you do this work. I am a testament to your power and your capacity and the energy that you hold in the mirror that you reflect back. It is so, I can't think of any other word but magical, because it can't be described in human terms until you actually experience it yourself. And so I'm really calling everyone who wants to have this experience forward to reach out to Katia and book your call and really get to feel into the potential of who you truly are. And that's the thing. It's not something out there. It's within you. It's just waiting for you to claim it. And I love that you said that.
I love that you just said that. Thinking about a client again, when, they talk about identity shifting, they think that they have to go somewhere and, when I get there. No, it's not. There's no direction. It's here and now. It's a shift. It's already within you. It's not somewhere else that you need to go, or someone else that you need to become, It's pretty much unbecoming. I think it's the opposite. It's an unbecoming.
Yeah, and you said that before.
It's like this is who you are underneath, in the core, in your essence, the authentic self, the limitless self. What you're doing is removing the coat, and then removing the top, and all the layers, all the masks, all the conditioning, all the lies, everything that doesn't serve who you really wish to be. And we all wish to live liberated, and authentic, and to be able to say exactly what we think,
Yeah.
exactly what we feel
Yeah.
right now,
Yes.
not later. Not regrets that we didn't say it. Oh, I
Yeah.
should have said this and should have said that, should
Yes.
have done this.
Yes.
Why didn't you? Why did you hide in the shadows? Why
Mm-hmm.
did you decide to please others?
Mm-hmm.
It's like just becoming aware again. We go back to awareness, because
Mm-hmm.
if people wonder where to start, it's
Mm-hmm.
to really observe yourself
Mm-hmm.
for at least 24 hours, I would say, for a week. Just
Mm-hmm.
start observing yourself
And
and
I just want to say
noticing.
one thing, that there's a difference between speaking our truth from the place of groundedness and what many people with ADHD experience as impulsiveness. It's like you want to jump in, and it's just like you can't hold on to it anymore. No, when you become grounded in that place, it's like, okay, you hold on to that truth that wants to be heard in the room, but you pick
Mhm,
and choose the time and place, and knowing, having full trust that it's not going to evade you. You have an opportunity, and it's just, again, strategically placing where it'll fit in
mhm.
best. So I think a lot of people with ADHD, they have this kind of like this feeling that they have so much inside of them that they just can't keep it in anymore, and they just want to blah, 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 all the time. And
I
that
felt
changes.
that it took a while for me to really get how to manage it.
Mhm.
And again, in friendships, sometimes I really want to say and this and that and that, and maybe we're on one vibe, one topic, but then I want to say this and that. And you know what? Wait, you know, maybe it's not the right time, because it would not be internalized by the other person in the same way that if it were at a different time. You just have to start attuning to people a little bit, which is not people pleasing. It's a really calibrating to them and attuning to them.
Mhm.
Are they in their capacity to really hear what I have to say?
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
this it's the nuances. I always say this even to my clients. There's a saying, the devil's in the details, though.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I would
Heaven's
say
in the details.
the
Yeah.
treasure is in the nuances.
Mm.
This is where the gold lies. It's to really start just looking at this matrix as if it were, because it is. It consists of those little threads.
Mhm.
It's like what is this musical instrument?
The harp.
Um, the harp,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like really getting close. It's like looking at the different strings.
Yeah.
These are the different frequencies, basically.
I love that.
Like the movie
Absolutely.
Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. Like really looking at the threads and the different frequencies and the nuances. And okay, let me just attune to that, because I know that right now it will be heard and accepted. And it's not like it's my intention is not to make someone believe what I'm saying, but I know that they are in their capacity to let it through. There's no
Mhm.
wall. And
Mhm.
they will decide. It's like I'm not trying to make them believe that,
Mhm.
but I know when it's the right time for this conversation,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
And that takes that turning in that you spoke about earlier, observing ourselves when we're
Yeah.
not actually constantly going by our impulses, but really
Mm.
slowing down to attune. And
And
it's
that is emotional regulation, that is emotional intelligence. And not a lot of people talk about this. A lot of people talk about procrastination, and I can help you with
Mhm.
procrastination, and let's do this and let's do that. But what is procrastination? It really is when you're not regulated.
Mhm.
And the moment you learn how to do that, there's not even, we cannot even talk about motivation,
Mhm.
because it's talked about. That's like the last thing that I'm gonna say, because
Yeah. Mhm.
time's running. But motivation and procrastination. Imagine you're a bird on a branch. Do you think the bird has this process of, now I'm going to motivate myself? and do this, flap my wings, and I'm gonna fly to this other branch on the other tree.
Just do
No,
it.
like it's not because of lack of motivation.
Yeah.
It's because of, okay, first of all, is this really exciting? Do I really want it?
Mhm.
And second of all, what is underneath this procrastination? Because this is just the surface level.
Mm.
So, is it some kind of fear? Is it some kind of discomfort? What is the resistance?
Mhm.
We have to always look at the deeper desire of our wisdom, because this is just a blanket, procrastination.
Absolutely. And
But
that's
what
that's
is,
all the work we do. Yeah, it's so, so, so powerful. There's so many layers to that unpacking, right? There's so much
its
unpacking
impact really
to do.
is like
Yeah.
like a gift,
Yes.
basically.
Yes. Thank you so
Unwrap,
much,
start unwrapping
Katia.
the gifts.
No, yes, I love it. I love unwrapping these gifts with you. It's such a joy to be with you. It's been a while since we caught up, so this is absolutely necessary. And let's
Yeah.
not leave another 2 years before we catch up
No,
again.
no, no. We're gonna do
We
it
should do this
before the
again.
end of this year. You're going to be my guest on my podcast, which
I
is
would love
called Authenticity Embodied. And I would love to have you and continue this conversation. And I thank you so much for this invitation. It was such a pleasure. And I have to tell you guys, when I look at myself 2 years ago, when another colleague of ours from the Institute for Coaching invited me it was an Instagram live. Oh my God, I was shaking, I was sweating, and I would forget the train of thought. I would blank out. I was like so freaking nervous. It's because I didn't know where my center was, and because I had no idea how to regulate
Mhm.
and how to really be grounded
Mhm.
and how to be in flow.
I love it.
Why? Okay, one last thing. Why presence versus performance?
Mm,
Performing for external validation or just being present because the message is more important than me?
that's
Like
right.
the transmission that is running through me, like I have no idea what exactly we're going to say and talk about today. Like we had some vague ideas, but it's the transmission that counts. It's the
Yes.
transmission that awakens and activates. It really doesn't matter who I am, what my name is, what I look like.
Mhm.
It's not the performance anymore. That is the difference between me when you met me 2 years ago and
Mhm.
now.
That is so, so, so juicy and it's so much easier. You guys, it's like
It is.
maintaining the resistance and doing all this planning and micromanaging and perfectionism.
Yeah.
Oh, so exhausting. It's like
It is exhausting.
just show
And Virgos
be.
tend to be
Oh,
perfectionists,
girl, we could talk
but
about
now we are
Virgo.
recovering perfectionists.
That's right. Absolutely. Katia, I love you so
Uh,
much. My Virgo
Me
twin,
too.
my soul twin, honestly, my spirit sister. Thank you so much for
You're in
being
my
on
heart.
the podcast. You have so many hearts from me. And I have my heart from you. It actually stays right here with me
Oh,
all the
that
time.
is
I love it.
so
It's so
cute.
sweet. But I love you
Oh,
and we'll see you very soon.
I
Thank
love
you.
you, Raleigh, and let's do this sooner than later.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Because
being on
life
the
gets in the
podcast.
way.
Absolutely. Life is the way. Let's do this.
Yeah,
Love you, sister.
exactly. Life
Thank
is the
you.
way. I love you. Have a wonderful afternoon and rest of the day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.